Everybody, hey, it's Andres coming to you live from Grand Rapids at the Baking Steel studio. And today is a treat, our first class of 2025. We are making pizza and we're making dough. So we're gonna start with the dough first. I'm gonna get to everyone's questions. Please drop them in the box there as we go. There'll be pauses and we'll get to the questions then. But first things first, let's make dough. And I know there's a lot of first timers here, so I'm gonna talk a lot today. This is our 72-hour dough I'm making today, and it's 4 ingredients: flour, salt, water, yeast. And it's really important that we dial in our ingredients. And I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but you need to get yourself a digital scale. These are super important to measure all our ingredients. The recipe was designed with a scale. We have 500 grams of flour, and we use a scale because if I was to say cups and we have and I said 4 cups, and if people scoop up, they might flatten it out. Some people might have it loft. It might be more dense with other people. It's not going to be super accurate. So a scale just dials it in. And what's really important with pizza dough and breads is dialing in the flour to water ratio. It's really critical because in our recipe, it's a 70% hydrated dough. And that's really simply means we have 500 grams of flour and 350 grams of water. You divide 350 into 500, which is your base, that's 70%. And really what's great about breads and pizza doughs, using this formula, we can scale it up or down based on the percentages that we use. It's always going to be the same. So in other words, if I want to make it 75%, I would add, I think, another 25 grams of water into, someone check my math, into my formula, right? Or if I would dial it down to subtract 25 grams, I would only have a 65% hydrated dough, right? Or 300 would be a 60%. So 70% is not a beginner's dough. It's going to be a little tricky to work with in the beginning, but we love that hydration level. Using a home oven with our baking steel inside, with the cook times that we do, it's phenomenal. And you'll see in a little bit. It's better than restaurants, this stuff, what we're doing here. And I'm sure that some of our customers and friends here can vouch for that. The flour, because we're fermenting it for several days, we need to get a really strong flour, high in protein. And we've done a lot of tests. And what we prefer is, first of all, organic. And then secondly, a bread flour. Bread flour is typically a 13-ish percentage in protein, which is the gluten. It's the strength of it. And it really holds up well over 2 or 3 days of fermentation. I like a brand called Central Milling. Central Milling, organic, high mountain bread flour. It's phenomenal. I use it almost exclusively in my studio. I buy 25 or 50-pound bags, depending on my level of output of pizzas that I'm eating that month or week or whatever it is. And I love that high hydration. I mean, the higher protein flour, and I love Central Milling. But King Arthur flour also has a nice organic bread flour, and that's more available in like your markets, your Whole Foods, etc. Central Milling, you need to order it online. It's worth it, 100%. All right. And then, so we got our flour, and we'll get to some questions, but then my other ingredients are flour, salt, water, and yeast. I always use an organic flour. Water, I use filtered water. I have a reverse osmosis in my studio here. The water in Michigan's phenomenal anyway, but we kind of clean it up even more so. I think at my new house, we have a well, which is incredible, but I still use a reverse osmosis. I cook with filtered water because I drink filtered water. So I don't want any of that stuff in my foods either. Even if I'm boiling pasta, I'll use filtered water. That's it. Those are my ingredients. So let's make a dough. I'll take you through my steps, and then we're going to make a pizza next. And we'll get to all this. I might even give some stuff away today too. Feel like it. All right, let's go. So let's go through all of it. So I'm gonna switch my camera around to top down so you guys can see. And I'll go through all the ingredients of the pizza too, but here's my baking steel dough container. I love these, they're awesome. I have a couple of them because a few of them because I like keeping my ingredients. So I've already measured up my flour in here. So I've got my flour inside my dough container. And watch how simple this is. My sea salt, I use a Redmond sea salt. It's got a nice taste to it. And I've got 16 grams, which is a pretty heaping, like tablespoon almost. Again, this is measured. I put that right into my flour and then I just whisk it around. Just like that. Okay, and now I'm gonna take my my yeast, which is 1 gram of yeast. And this is, someone asked what brand I use. So I'll dump this in. I'll show you the brand. This is a Fleshman's Active Dry Yeast. I buy this at the market. This is 4 ounces or 113 grams. So literally, it'll make 100 batches of this dough. And this expires in March of this year. So pretty soon. I have to, as you can see, I have to get going on this before it expires. Active dry yeast, I basically just whisk that around. So I'm using really nice flour here, guys. A really nice salt, Fleshman's Active Dry Yeast. And now I'm going to take my water, my filtered water, and just literally pour it in. Just like that. And now I'm going to take my dough scraper and just kind of push it around. Let my flour and water hydrate together. Real simple. Right? And then I'm just trying not to get my hands too dirty yet. I want to let the water and the flour kind of combine. And then all I'm going to do is just take my one hand. Again, if you're new, I typically, when I'm working with dough or something wet, I'm gonna keep one hand dry and one hand kind of will get dirty. So I always have a free hand to answer the phone, grab something, whatever it might be, right? And I just kind of lightly press this out and combine the flour and the water together. And I do this for 2 or 3 minutes. And I'm really, when I'm pushing down, I'm just trying to remove any dry clumps of flour. I do this and you can still see it's starting to form one large big mass. After about 2 or 3 minutes, I can feel the dough start to get sticky because it's hydrating. Okay, and that's kind of what we want. Right? And I'll do this for 2 or 3 minutes, scrape the sides, get it all in there, press it down. You can see I've got one large ball of dough. Clean off my hands a little bit. It's just still got one clean hand and one dirty hand, which is cool. All right. So I got one. All right, pretty cool. See? Nice. All right. That's it. That's the dough. Like literally, that's the skill. You saw me. That took like 5 minutes of preparation. And I'm just washing my hand off here. I can get dirty again. That's my dough. I do this and I now will let this sit. I might clean this dough container out, by the way. When I'm done with class, I'm gonna remove it, clean it, just rinse it out, and then put the dough back in. I always like to have clean bowls. I don't know. But this is gonna sit for the next 24 hours at room temperature. And then what I'll do is I'll take this container and I'll place it in the fridge for the next 2 days. Or alternatively, I could make pizza tomorrow with this dough. Or I could take one dough out and then put it back in the fridge and let the other doughs ferment. And you'll have like one 24-hour dough, one 48-hour dough, and then one 78-hour, depending how much how much pizza you're making, but you can tell the difference. You can taste the difference in texture, in color, in flavor by letting this dough sit for, 1, 2, or 3 days. 1 day is going to be great, but really good. 3 days is great. And I highly recommend if you're having a pizza party and you have time and you can think it through, to give it a 72-hour ferment. Huge difference in flavor. And this, by the way, is what makes it legendary. That ferment, not me, it's the fermentation, that this dough just sits there for several days, gaining both texture and flavor. It's phenomenal, the difference. Now, I could have added a lot more yeast and make pizza today for us using the same dough. But it's going to require more yeast, which isn't great for our stomachs. And then the glutens aren't going to be broken down at all. And it's going to be very difficult to digest. And you see this with all these supermarket breads and the quick pizzas that you get at like Pizza Hut, or I'm picking on them, but other Domino's maybe. A lot of these guys aren't fermenting their doughs. They're doing it the same day because they didn't set up their system to have fermented doughs. And their wheelhouse is getting pizzas to houses in 30 minutes or less, right? Not giving you a really high quality, they're not using really nice flours either. So anyway, at home, we can control all these variables to make it epic. That's what we got here. On the day of pizza making, I'm gonna make my dough balls. Let's make one right now. I have my balls already made up here, but I'm gonna just do it for you because we got, I took this dough and divided it into 3 this morning. I took it out of the fridge, divided it into 3, and I made these dough balls for class today. But let's pretend, I want to show you how to do a dough ball, if some first timers here. And we'll take one of these, all right, and let's just use this as an example, but let's say this is, I just cut this out of the portion size. I cut my dough into thirds, and I have this big glump of dough. And I want to make my dough balls about 3. I made these dough balls this morning around 9 a.m. because I knew we'd be baking pizzas around noon. I want this dough to be really supple. And by making our dough balls, that really allows that to happen, if that makes sense. So let's show you how to make a dough ball. So first off, I flour up my hands. I work my work surface, put my dough down. The flour just helps it not stick. This dough's gonna be very sticky because it's high hydration, right? You just pick up the dough and fold it in half like this, and then turn your hands, and I just lightly press it in, lightly. It's not a stress ball. And then I close it again. And I follow the same sequence. I turn, I grab each side and like lightly press in and close. And what I'm really doing is I'm knocking out some of the air in this ball. Turn, press, and close. The seam side is always facing away from my chest. The smooth side is always facing my chest. I just follow the same sequence probably about 20 times. And what I'm doing is I'm making this ball more and more tight, because we want to trap all these natural gases inside the dough. So it proves it's trying to expand. And what happens is the dough starts to rise and soften. So you can see, I just keep doing the same sequence, really light. And when I'm done, I keep the smooth side in my palm, and I can be aggressive on the pinch. I'm going to pinch this thing closed. And I've got this really nice dough ball. I'm going to let this rest for 3 hours, and then I will make a pizza tonight with this. So that's the dough. Let's get to some questions while we can before we get into pizza making. Put this back in my container, covered. Always cover it. Let's see what we got for questions here, you guys. Anybody have a question on the flour, dough, anything? Let me have it. Sorry, need to leave. Oh, yes, we will save this, Vicky. Do you have a whole wheat flour or partial? Do you ever use, great question. And I think she left. Oops. But Vicky and anybody else, if I'm using whole wheat flour, it's gonna change the variables because that flour is gonna absorb water differently than bread flour. So the recipe wasn't designed for wheat flour. However, if I'm experimenting, we use 500 grams of flour. When I experiment, I do 10 or 20% of an alternative flour. In other words, I'll use 400 grams of bread flour and 100 grams of wheat flour, or 20% of that, to kind of mix it and give it its own unique taste. And my only thing there is, if you have spelt or any other types of flours, toss them in. I've done 5% spelt to 95% bread flour. It was phenomenal, really unique. Just kind of make it your own. Like, just try different experiments and see what you like. But this, again, just be very cautious of adding too much of something that you're not familiar with. 20% for wheat seems to be a really good number, because if I do 100% of wheat, that with the 70% hydration, it's gonna be very, very dry. So a lot different. Oh, I hope that helped, Vicky. Yes, and central milling, organic. Chris, yes, it's right. I grind flour from white. Ooh, nice. Janet, great. I love it. You have your own grinder. We should do that one day in here too. You just, it's gonna change. Again, I might, if I'm grinding my own flour, experiment with bread flour, and a really nice bread flour like Central Milling, and throw in like 5 or 10% of your ground flour until you can find that right formula. It's gonna be different depending on the berries that you're using and how you grind. Each grinder is a little bit different, I know. What about King Arthur 00 flour? Roger's asking, what about 00 flour? Great question. You know, you could get 10 pizza makers at home. And for example, Allie Stafford, a friend of ours who just wrote this great book called Pizza Night, loves the baking steel, an incredible cook. Her pizzas are phenomenal. She prefers 00 flour over bread flour. I think last time we talked. And other people might like 00 flour over bread flour, and other people might like bread flour over. Some people might like all-purpose flour. That might be good for like a 24-hour ferment. Really, it's really a dealer's choice. My best thing is to experiment, take an adventure, try different things, see what you like better. It's a really fun experiment. King Arthur makes a really great product. Willis is asking, will it be the same dough for calzone or stromboli? Yes, 100%. I do strombolis often just use the same exact dough. I stretch it out a little bit differently, more into rectangulars, but same thing. And same thing with calzone. Yes, same dough. It's really versatile, guys. And here's a little thing too. I keep my dough container in my fridge all the time. And if I have these dough, if I want to make bread, guess what? I just pull out a dough ball, make a dough ball, and that's gonna be my bread that evening. It's incredible bread, really versatile. Yeah, so Paula, ooh, good question. Paula's asking bagels. Yes, I do use it. So we cook bagels differently. We boil them first, then bake them. I do use pizza dough for bagels. If I know I'm making bagels, I will typically switch it to a lower hydrated recipe. I think it's like 60%, 55, 60%. So it's more dense. Less water means more bready, more dense. So that's my ultimate bagel. But if I'm in a pinch and I only have some pizza dough in the fridge, I can turn it into pretzels, yes, or bagels. I hope that helps. Do you have the dough recipe written somewhere on your site? Yes, we do. And we will follow up on the email with the recipe in there. 500 grams of organic bread flour, 16 grams of sea salt, 1 gram of active dry yeast, and 350 grams of filtered water. And that was basically the ingredients. Yes, pretzels. Do you have the dough? Okay, there. Okay. So, all right, that's the dough, right? So now let's go on to pizza making. I came in the studio this morning and fired up my oven. I was here, but I fired the oven up around 10 a.m. I knew I was making pizza at noon. I wanted my steels hot. I just like the sound of the oven on, just makes me feel ready. An hour is an adequate preheat time, but I don't mind 2 hours. More heat, the better. When we worked in restaurants, you know, we'd go in for, 11 or 12 o'clock for prep for evening service. And, you know, we're firing up those ovens early. We want those ovens as hot as possible. And if anything, with home cooks and bakers, I find we don't use enough heat. So more heat is better, right? Don't be afraid. It's not expensive. We studied it. It's like pennies on the hour to run your ovens. It's not very expensive. And in the winter, it acts as a heater too, which is nice. All right, so let's go. So I'm baking steels. I've got 2 in my oven, preheating at 450 for the last 2 hours. I made those dough balls this morning. You can see, right? And for my ingredients, we're using, I'm gonna take you through it, but one of my favorite tomatoes, Bianco DiNapoli crushed tomatoes. These are phenomenal. You can buy them at Whole Foods, on Amazon. These are the crushed version. They also have a whole peeled, and they also have where are they? Oh, I think I lost them. They also make I might have one of the fridge. They also make these, which are really great. Bianco DiNapoli pizza sauce. And these like kind of foil packs, like a go-go squeeze. Incredible. Like this is their pizza sauce, organic. It's got incredible taste and really simple to use. Twist it and pour it on your pizza. It's great. Highly recommend it. For today, we're using Bianco DiNapoli pizza because today we're making a pizza. I'm going to do a reverse pizza. We're going to do pizza dough like we traditionally do. Then we're going to add our cheese, and then we're going to add our sauce on top of the cheese. And why? No real reason. It's reverse. It's a little twist on a traditional cheese pizza. Cheese being on that dough first, it just gives a little bit more creaminess than if you put the sauce on first. So we kind of reverse it, upside down pizza, if you will, and it's awesome. It's our 72-hour dough, which is probably about 40 hours. It's not quite 72 hours yet. Oven's heating. Let's go. All right. Let me, and we'll get to more. Let's do I'm gonna do the sauce first. Basically, this is like really incredible pizza sauce recipe we have here. We take our sauce, we open the can up. All right. Very highly skilled. Be careful with these things. I'm going to take sea salt, and I love this Redmond sea salt. You can see here in these packs. It's an ancient fine salt. I dump a little bit of my water in the mornings too, which I love. So it's a nice sea salt, a nice flavor to it. Minerals. I have about 12 grams of it here. Goes right into my can, and that's my sauce. Mix it up, right? That's my tomato sauce. And how do you know if tomatoes are good? Guess what? You taste them right out of the can. Taste them. Look at the colors of that. Isn't that nice? Beautiful, right? That's my sauce. Today for the cheese, one of my favorites is a classic from Trader Joe's. A whole milk, low moisture mozzarella. Someone asked about grande cheese earlier. Well, we want to use at home, we want to buy cheese. This is a whole milk mozz. We want to buy it in chunks like this. You can also go to a deli at the market and have them cut some whole milk mozzarella for you. Like you'd slice it. You can buy it sliced, but you can also just buy it in a chunk, and then we're going to grate it ourselves. So I'll take my cheese. I've got my mozzarella here. And I'm going to open the package up and just slice it up. It's kind of hard to open. And I just pick this out. There's my chunk. Now this chunk would probably make like 3, 4, or 5 pizzas, depending on how much you're using. If you're combining it with anything else, we can see. I just grate it with my grater. Actually, I'm going to change my grater today. I like this Wonder Shredder. This is like the traditional one. This I got at a flea market years ago, and it's phenomenal. And I'll show you why. You might be able to buy them on eBay still. I'm trying to get some for our customers, but I like these shreds. Look how thick these shreds are. Aren't those beautiful? Versus these, which are also nice, but look how small they are, right? You can see the difference here. The different size shreds. I like the way these big ones melt. And because we're putting sauce on top, this might be a better base. So that's my my audible this morning. So Chris, grade. I'm gonna grade enough just for about one pizza. Aren't those beautiful? They're great, right? All right, so there's our cheese. See these shreds? God, they're nice. Just big, big shreds. All right, so that's our cheese. We got our sauce. We are ready to make a pizza. We'll clean up my cheese off the countertop here a little bit. And now take my flour, brush it around. We're gonna take out a dough, my dough container. And I just plop it right down into the pile of flour. I want to coat it really nice so it doesn't stick to my countertop. And we're gonna brush some of that off as we go. But you can see this dough has been proofing for 3 hours plus. It's gonna feel like a cloud because we balled it up nice. Look at that, not really soft and spongy. Feels like a cloud. And there's a couple of rules of thumb. Some people will take this and leave a perimeter around their dough as they're stretching it out. I don't typically do that. I kind of bring it closer to the edge. But these are really going to be puffy pizzas, if you will. Look at the bubbles and the fermentation. Smells amazing. I just really press. And when it gets to be a good sized disc, like 6 or 7 inches, I'm going to pick it up and put it on my knuckles. And we're going to let this it's called a gravity stretch. Right? It's kind of tug and turn. Tug and turn. I'm going to go back to this angle. Letting gravity kind of do its thing. My hands are in like this. I don't want to poke through the dough. I'm just kind of lightly stretching and shaking almost, right? You can see it's starting to expand. And you know, the secret to a round pizza is to start with a round dough, really. You can see we did. And that's it. That's me probably about 10 inches right now or 11 inches. I'll show you guys again. Right? Isn't that beautiful? Just kind of turn. I'm stretching a little bit. Press it down. Really cool looking dough, isn't it? Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the bubbles. Some people will pop them, not us. We like to keep them. It makes it really unique. Let me Zamboni my workspace here. Try to work as clean as I can. Put my dough here. Flour there. Now let's grab a pizza peel. I like wood peels. This is our 12-inch peel. Very underrated, guys. It's my favorite peel that we have. It's awesome. It makes the transition. It's a little bit smaller for me to handle, and I just think it's a great size. I'm going to lightly flour this up. The flour, and I like to use a little bit of semolina flour too. So I use a combination underneath it. And I go, less is more, but in the beginning, more might be better because the goal is to get it onto the hot baking steel. So you need those ball bearings on top. This is the trickiest part of pizza making, I find, for homemakers, is the putting the dough onto the peel and then launching it into the hot oven. It just takes a little bit of practice. You can grab some Play-Doh and practice if you will, but really the goal here is to make sure when I place my dough on top, okay, that it's gonna slide like a puck, okay? So here's my dough. See how it's sliding? That's a really critical, this is the time to check. If it's getting stuck, it's not sliding back and forth, I will pick up the edge and add a little bit of semolina flour or flour underneath it, just so it doesn't get stuck. Do not want our pizza getting stuck. Look at those gorgeous bubbles. Man, that looks amazing. I've done this thousands of times and I'm still impressed with the dough. It's amazing. It feels really good to feel like you made something. All right, so we're gonna do this reverse style. So now I'm gonna take my cheese and place it on my pizza. Like this. Again, less is more. I don't want to go over the edge. Not a ton, right? A good amount. Now what I'm gonna do is grab my sauce. Now, before I do anything else, before I even do sauce, I give it a little jiggle again. It's still pretty loose. I'm really confident that this will go into the oven. Again, do this as you're making the pizza. Always give it a pick it up and give it a jiggle. Because if it gets stuck, now's the time to fix it, not when you're in that hot oven. I like to pinch these edges a little bit too. Just gives that the contours a little bit, makes these crevices in the dough, if you will, makes it really unique. And now for my sauce, the plate kind of spread it around. Again, less is more. And this is like, I say, like, this is my canvas. I'm painting art, right? That's pretty good sauce, pretty good amount. It's pretty heavy, right? Give it a little jiggle. All right. How's that look to you guys? Good? Try. So you guys can see what I'm doing in the oven. But I want to emphasize this is still loose on here. I can shake it. It's still jiggling, right? I'm very confident. I can go to the back of my peel, to the back of my steel, and just slightly and gently kind of peel it back. Tilt it a little bit, not too steep, because if it's too steep, we're gonna have a calzone. It's gonna collapse on you. So again, just practice. What is that, like 20 degrees, 25 degrees, maybe, right? Less is more. And I'm gonna go into the oven in a second, but I want you, I'm gonna try to do a camera angle here for you guys so you can see inside what I'm looking at. My oven's been preheating at 450 for the last 2 hours. I'm gonna switch it till my neck. It's cool. All right, so I'm gonna switch my oven to broil. You can see, cancel this, broil, high. And the reason is I want my I want this pizza to hit that oven when those broilers are red hot. Okay? Make sense? And I'm gonna broil it for the first maybe minute or two. And then what I'll do is switch it back to bake, if that makes sense. Trying to look at myself here. Is that good? All right. So now what we'll do is let's take a look inside and launch. You still see here, okay? So the back of my peel goes to the back of the steel and just kind of shuffle it off. You see that? And I'm gonna look and see my broiler. Actually, it's not quite on. It's starting to turn red. Good deal. Okay, let's close it. I put my timer on for 2 minutes. And we will have. It's really critical to time, because otherwise you'll burn. Believe me, I've taught live classes and burnt it because I got into a conversation and forgot about the broiler being on, and you can scorch it really quick. 2 minutes seems to be like the sweet spot for this oven. This is a Monogram electric oven. I love it. I preheated at 450 versus 500 just to trick it. Because if I preheat it at 500 and then I switch it to broil, the broiler is not going to kick on for a few minutes. So I've tricked it. The oven's not super hot. It's not maxed out at 450. And so when I switch it to broil, it tends to go on pretty much instantaneously or within a minute, if that makes sense. So as it's baking here, we'll get to a question or two. Trader Joe's as close to grande as I have found. Chris, great question. Yeah, I agree. And you guys saw this. This is a whole milk mozzarella at Trader Joe's. It's really, it might even be coming from them. Who knows? It's a really nice cheese. Oh, the flour I have on myself, by the way. What's up? What's up with that? It's incredible. Let's see. I don't have a side towel, of course. If my cleaning person was here, and I'll have to use paper towels. I don't know where she put them, so I can smell something burning. So let's take a close look in here. It's been about a minute. I want to It's probably those bubbles, right? Let's close up, let's look at the wrap here. You can see that bubble up here, right? Up here, really starting to burn. I'm gonna rotate this a little bit. I'm gonna turn my broiler off. In fact, what I'm gonna do, just so I don't burn this pizza, I'm gonna move to my bottom steel and then turn the broiler off. Uh-oh, fire alarm's gone out, sorry. Hold on for 1 second. Ah, 1 second, guys, sorry. I gotta turn it up, there we go, got it off. Phew, fire alarm went off, of course, which is great, right? It's in my studio, I can't, it's hardwired in, I can't turn it off. It's just the smoke from a little bit of smoke. Doesn't like me making pizzas too often, right? The broiler, again, I had a little bit of burn on there, so it tended to let's switch this up to 450 again. Timer, 2 more minutes. So I put my timer on for about 2 more minutes. That'll be about a 4-minute pizza in a home oven, is phenomenally fast. I switched it to the bottom steel because I didn't want the top getting too burnt. And I turned the broiler off, but sometimes it stays on just for that extra minute and it could get it too dark. So when I go to the bottom steel, it just protects the top from getting too dark. But now the bottom will be cooking and catching up to the top. In 4 or 5 minutes, it's done. It's phenomenal. It's great. Do you ever put a pizza screen in your oven? Chris, I do not. I do not use a pizza screen. I know some people do. They like to transfer it onto a screen. You know, sometimes midway through the bake, and it kind of they like the way it handles that crust and makes it easier to shuffle around. I haven't even played around with it, to be honest, but I know some great pizza makers that do. I use parchment under my pizza, works every time to launch onto the baking steel. That is a really good idea. Parchment's amazing. Only caution I have with parchment is you got to be careful not to use the broiler, because otherwise, I speak from experience, fires do happen. That paper will catch on fire. So just be mindful of that. Any difference with a gas oven? Paula, great question. So I just built a home and I had the fortune of putting 2 ovens in, which was great. And I put 1 gas, 1 electric, because I wanted to have both. I don't have a preference. I like them both. What I like about gas better is that when I switch it to broil, the broiler goes on instantaneously and it never well, I shouldn't say never, but it does not shut off. So I've got that access to that broiler. I can really hammer pizzas really fast, really get some nice leoparding on top. So that's great. I don't really have a downside of gas, but I do like electric. I love these monogram ovens. I like it's a little bit smaller box because it's only like, it's not as wide, so it's a smaller box and it seems to heat great for breads and cookies, etc. So really they both have their advantages. Janet's asking, do I ever use spices for the flavor of the sauce? So this is a sauce that just has salt in it. Yes, great question. Call it a house sauce, right? I might add some oregano, sorry, I can't say that. Oregano, some garlic, some, even pepper, just into my red pepper flakes, right? Into my can and just mix it up. And there's my house sauce, right? So yeah, I do, and at times, and this pizza sauce actually has that in it, basil too, a little bit of basil, dried basil inside. So yeah, I do, and I like it. Cheese first, then sauce. Roger, no real reason. This was just a new pizza today. In fact, I think it's done. Maybe let's take a look. Oh my goodness, you guys, this is gorgeous. Let me take you guys to this camera so you can see exactly where we go. See, I'll show you some better light. Right? Isn't that gorgeous? Like underneath, crispy. You see that? Right? I could maybe go another minute, but I'm going to heat this up and bring it home later. So I'm going to keep it whole. So isn't that gorgeous though? Look at the bubbles. See, I love the bubbles. I love the little char that we have. Crispy crust, right? Oh my goodness. And the way the sauce, I put the sauce on top of the cheese just to change it up. Typically, it's a little bit untraditional. Typically, we put the sauce down, the cheese on top. This is just called a reversed it. And what that does, is it makes, maybe that cheese is gonna melt into that dough a little bit differently, making that a little bit creamier. Again, the sauce has got these really vibrant tomatoes. It's gonna taste phenomenal. Can't wait. Let me take this thing off. Any other questions on those guys? Let's go. Thank you. It's great. It's really beautiful. So Roger, I hope that answered that for you. Let's see. Wonderful. I know. Hey, Janet, you know, if anybody's in Grand Rapids, please let me know. Come do a class with me. That'd be amazing. Can you flavor the crust like with olive oil, sesame seeds? Yeah, you know, great question. And Rod, I have done it, but I have done it. I drop my phone all the time. I have done it. And the time to do it would be probably right when after I stretch it out. I would just kind of coat the perimeter, maybe wipe a little bit of olive oil on it first. So it'll, like, give some moisture so it'll stick better. That's a great time to do it. It's great. Isn't that gorgeous? It smells amazing. Do you have hands-on classes at your facility, Paula? We do. In fact, I have done a couple. My goal this year is to do more. And so we're gonna do, I could probably get like 8 to 10 people. I've done a couple of parties in here. It's really fun. 8 to 10 people in Grand Rapids. If you're here, we will, if you want to do one, send me an email. We can set it up. I am going to do them this year. They're really fun. I miss it. I had this incredible studio in Boston. It was a little bit bigger. That was more of a test kitchen. This is more of a studio. I love it here too. This is like party central where I am. It's really fun. So we will do hands-on classes in here. Yes. If you're close by, send me an email and you want to set something up, we can do that. Gorgeous. And thank you. You got it, Roger. Do you recommend a second steel in the oven? Chris, good question. I have 2 steels in my ovens always because I make multiple pizzas. The real reason you'd want 2 is for multiples. And I say that because if I was going to we were doing a class in here, I was going to do, you know, back to back pizzas. We would launch on top, broil for 2 minutes, move that one to the bottom steel, launch a new one on top. And every 2 minutes, I'm basically cycling a new pizza. And the only way to do that is having more steel estate inside your oven, more hot spots, right? So that's why I would do 2. If I'm making 1, 2, or 3 pizzas, I don't need to have 2 steels. 1 is more than adequate, for sure. So really, I do it for speeding. I fed my son's hockey team last year, 20, you know, teenagers, pizza. I had to go to someone's house to do this, and I had 1 oven. Did I have 1 oven? Yeah, I think I had 1 oven, 2 steels in it, cranked out about 20 pizzas in an hour. So I was working hard, I was sweating, but it was phenomenal. Like, where else can you do that? A home making 20 pizzas an hour, you know, that looked like this, pretty amazing. Which rack, if I only have 1 steel, what rack am I using? For pizza, I'm using the top rack, or in this oven, I have a second rack. I want to be close to the broiler. Like, this oven's great because the racks slide in and out, but a lot of ovens don't. So just make sure you leave yourself enough room to kind of launch it in and out of the oven, if you will, right? Let's see, off my Mr. T necklace. Let's see that. I'm bummed you're not in Cohasset anymore. You need move right when I started baking. Oh man, I know, Mark. I just talked to a friend in Cohasset, just to open a pizza shop up called Stoked Pizza in Cohasset. So yeah, give me I miss it. I was there about a month over Christmas. We went back, and I wish I kept that studio just to go back and do classes once in a while. But I'll be back. You know, who knows? For now, my kids are loving Grand Rapids, and you know, come out this way. Any other questions, you guys? This has been incredible, really. Great crew today. Incredible. We're doing a bread class in 2 weeks. You have my email, andres@bakingsteel.com. And, you know, I'm going to give away some of these 12-inch peels today. I'm going to give a couple of these away. These are great, guys. This is, you know, we make 12, we make a 14 and a 16. I have obviously, and we make a board too, which is for the plus. It's a big one. If I'm making pizzas, you can see this is like a good 10, 12-inch pizza, fits right on my peel. I just love this size because it's more versatile. I serve my pizzas. If you guys were here now, I would take my rocker and literally slice these pizzas right on my peel and use this as my serving tray because they're awesome. So nice to, and then it's, the cleanup's easier too, because I don't have all these plates everywhere, right? So I have multiple peels that I serve. Anyway, I just like this 12-inch one, and I'm gonna give a couple away. Hopefully you can make the Zoom, yes. Hopefully you can make the next Zoom, these look fun. Yeah, they're really fun. I love it. So if you're still here, I'm gonna scroll up and I'll pick 2 people, and I'm gonna send you a 12-inch peel on me. You're gonna love it. We're gonna do a follow-up to this, and the first person is gonna be Don Kelly. Don, if you're here, send me, can you let me know if you're here still? It'd be great. And the second person who's gonna be here is gonna be, I'm gonna pick Janet Foster. Janet, if you're here, can you, Janet and Don, send me a message if you can in the box here. I hope they're still here. Sorry. Janet's there, yes, awesome. So I'm gonna put my email here, Janet. And if you can, bakingsteel.com. And Don, if you get this, registered for the bread class last night. Love it, Bert. Great. So we're doing a bread class, and geez, I think it's next week actually. Wow, I think it is next week. Yes. Oh, awesome. Yes, I love it. Don, great. Don, send me an email and we'll get you a peel too. 2 guys getting the peels. Love it. You're gonna love them. They're great. Pizza's phenomenal. I'm gonna eat this when you guys go. I fast every night, and I can't eat until noon just because that's just how I do it. I eat too much otherwise. I don't want to break my fast with the pizza, but I might. Right? You guys are great, and literally email me, Andres at Baking Steel. You have it there. Did I put it in the box? You guys see that? Yes. Email me, you guys, anytime. If I don't get back to you, I will. Don't be shy to send me another message, but I will get back to everybody if they email me any questions. I really am obsessed with helping people fine tune, get better, master, whatever it might be, home pizza. We're obsessed with it. I have the breadboard. I need the 12-inch peel. Yeah, you'll love it, Bert. You guys are great. Janet, just say, hey, I was at class today. I won the peel. And I'll get that to you guys. Thank you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and like this and share it with your friends. All right. You guys are amazing. Where do you register for the bread class? So Marcia, in fact, we're getting an email out, I think today or tomorrow. If you're on our email list, you'll get the registration for it. It's free, it's class. And if, you know, and I might even do some private Zoom classes for people if they're ever interested in them. Not private, but you have a small group you want to get together. Don't be shy. Ask me. We can make something happen. You guys rock. Thank you. Thank you. What pizza can you make on a griddle? So the mini, just to show you, this is the Baking Steel Mini. Guess what? The pizza I just made fits right on it, right? So this is the mini, and it fits. It's be a little tighter launching it, but it works great. The skinny is just a longer version of this. And then we have a big griddle, which can fit all of the above. That makes sense. Great. And then what else? Was there any other questions? Great class. You guys, great. You're awesome. Thanks, Roger. I appreciate it. Would like to get the 12-inch wooden peel. I have metal one. Yeah. So Adriana, get the wood peel is much better than metal for launching. Metal doesn't absorb the water from the dough, so it can get stuck. I know the pros love the metal perforated, they're great, but they make pizzas, you know, hundreds a day. For home pizza makers, wood to launch, much better, much easier. Thank you, Richard. Also, twice saw that you use nose on your indicator, intervene, cook, trusting nose. Yeah, that's a good, yeah, smart. Yeah, you do. You know, when we're cooking, we keep all of our senses. And if you can smell something going, like I smell, you know, something abnormal, and I figured it was probably a bubble, but you know, open that oven up, give it a quick search. Yeah, all the senses are good. You guys are great. Thank you for being here. Grateful for all of you guys. Can't wait for next week doing bread. See you then. Oh, Todd, can you freeze dough? Yes, you can. We did a blog post on this not that long ago, last year. If you freeze dough, you want to ball it up, ferment it for maybe 1 or 2 days, ball it up and freeze it right away. You don't want to let them overproof. Like, for example, if I was going to freeze this dough, this one I just balled up a little bit ago, I would re-ball it right now and then put it in like a deli or a baggie and freeze it then. You just don't want to be overproofed before you freeze it. So I like to tighten ball up, then freeze, up to about 30 days. Ah, great. I love it, you guys. Thank you again. Thank you. And can't wait for next week. We'll see you then.